Okay, Rick, this is just some ideas of what the webinar is going to look like in regards to the slides that I'm going to be using. And I've got about 10 slides I want to go through here with you. I want to just get your feel for it before we put together the rest of the slides. It's by no means complete yet, but I wanted to get your opinion on the look and feel of it. And so I'm going to be going through it like I'm interviewing you a little bit, and you'll get a feel for what we put together. And so without further ado, here is the first slide, and this is about the Nushagak River Fishing Lodge. It's Alaska's premier fishing lodge. We're fortunate today to be speaking with Rick Murphy, who's the owner and the manager of the Nushagak River Fishing Lodge. As of this recording, the 2015 fishing season is just a few months ahead, and Rick is expecting yet another amazing year of salmon fishing. The Nushagak River and Bristol Bay Area is considered the salmon capital of the world, with millions of salmon returning each year to spawn in the crystal clear water. Located in the remote wilderness of southwest Alaska, the main attraction to this area is its amazing salmon fishing. I know you'll enjoy the opportunity to get to know Rick today and the fisherman's paradise he's built there. So, hi Rick. Before we get started, I'm going to ask you to tell us just a little bit more about you, how you started the lodge, and about the experiences that people will have while they're at the Nushagak River Fishing Lodge. So anyway, Rick, then we'll have you just talk a little about growing up in Dillingham, starting the lodge, I guess, down on Porter Creek or something like that, and then deciding to move it, how you've put your sweat and tears into this lodge, and that you have a limited number of people that you fish with each week. You might want to talk a little about your family, your son Patrick there with the moose and that sort of thing. So as we move on, right? I'll say something to the effect in preparing for today's webinar, I did a little research and found out an amazing statistic, and that is over 50% of the world's salmon are harvested from this area, and that's an incredible statistic. What else can you share with us about the Nushagak River in Bristol Bay, Rick? And then go in there and just talk a little about all the different waterways and where your lodge is located and the runs of salmon and that sort of thing. And then I have this slide that comes up, and I wanted to make an impact on people because a lot of people are wanting, when they're looking at Alaska, oh, I want to bring my family up, sort of as we talked about, and have wilderness excursions and bird watching and glacier tours and that sort of thing. And of course, that's not what you're about. And so basically what I'm going to say when this slide comes up is, so what you're saying, Rick, is basically people come here for one thing, and really that's to fish. And then the next slide is, now, it is my understanding that the season starts off with king salmon fishing. Can you tell us a little about that season, when it begins, and what people can expect, right, when they come to fish king or Chinook salmon on the Nushagak with you? And then at that point, go in and talk about when the kings are running the best. You were also mentioning that you have, I forget the guy's name, the new fly fishing guide, and you're going to be fly fishing for kings off the bank. And just tell us about those experiences, the limits this year, and maybe even spend a little bit of time talking about, being able to keep the kings, right, and how many kings that you can keep this year and that sort of thing. And so then we'll move on. And this slide comes up and it says, after the king run, the silvers then start coming into the rivers. It's my understanding that you even have a silver salmon guarantee during this time of year. And tell us, how really big is the silver salmon run in the Nushagak and what a guest can expect? And then, of course, at this point, you're going to talk about the guy that caught 200 fish, or the guy that caught, 121 fish on one fly, multiple fish on at any one time in a boat, and then the next slide goes into talking about the 50 silver salmon guarantee, where, you'll return 50% of the cost of that. And when we get to this slide, and of course we're going back and forth as we're having these conversations. I'll say something to the effect of, so wow, this is the guarantee that they get, Rick. This is amazing. You must be very confident in your guest's ability to catch that many fish. And then of course, talk a little bit more and talk the silver salmon season up a little bit further. And then we'll go into you also offer a variety of other types of fishing for those wanting some variety. Can you tell us more about, the types of other fish that you're catching? And then just kind of go through the list. Hey, we fish for rainbow trout. I'll take out the pink salmon. The size of the chum salmon. When somebody says chum salmon to me, I don't get real excited, other than I know I'm going to have a good fight on the end of my line, because those things are huge sometimes. But just talk about the chums / dogs, and what they can expect and that sort of thing. The grayling fishing. There's a lot of people in the lower 48. I was one of them that wanted to catch a grayling. And then when I got up there and found out how easy it was, I soon became delusioned, and I started fishing for rainbows and other things. And then, of course, the char. I know you get some dollies up there. I don't know if we should put those in here also. The whitefish, and then, as you and I talked about, the pike. The other thing that I'll bring up, right, is something to the effect of, I'll bring up this slide. Now, I was going to say, I'm amazed to hear for the last 15 years solid, nobody has left your lodge, right, without at least 100 pounds of salmon fillets. That's incredible. What a great ending they have to such a wonderful trip with you. Now, Rick, do your guests, do they have to clean their own salmon, and do they have to pack it? How's that handled? And then, of course, go in there and talk about what you'll do for them and that sort of thing. And then we'll move on to the lodge itself. And this is where my slideshow has ended at this point. Of course, we'll be adding more slides onto it. I just wanted to, again, give you a feel on how this is going to go through. This slide comes up, and then we're going to start talking about the lodge. Gosh, it's an amazing place, and it sounds like you put your blood, sweat, and tears into this. Rick, tell us a little about the accommodations and the different facilities that you have. Go ahead and talk about the honeymoon suite and the duplex and the fourplex. Talk about the main lodge. I'll start bringing up pictures of the inside of the main lodge and that sort of thing. We'll then go in and talk about Haley. It sounds like you got a new chef this year. Rick, tell us about Haley and what people should be able to expect. About getting the 3 meals a day and her amazing cooking and that sort of thing. And then at the end of that, we'll go in. Well, Rick, we put on this webinar really to announce the winner of this year's free fishing trip, and that person is, and then you give me a name, and it'll come up on the screen, and we'll conclude at that point. So anyway, this is what you and I will be talking about Friday. I just wanted to give you a feel for how this looks. So anyway, we'll talk to you tomorrow, Rick. I'll record this and send it on over to you. Bye.